Mic check. Hello, hello, hello. Morning, everyone. Welcome to Tech News that Jerome Ortega finds interesting. And hold on here as I try to set everything up. Let me ask Chad, was there music playing? And I think I forgot to mute my mic. You gotta bear with me here. I'm still trying to figure all this shit out. Sorry. Um anyway, good morning, guys. Let me just look at chat real quick. It looks like Will beat 6 today. Will, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Brian, morning, everyone. Going into an ice cave. Have a great stream, everyone. Brian, hey, still in Iceland, I'm guessing. Welcome to the chat. Not sure if you're still. Oh, okay. Brian left a $5 super chat. So, Brian, thank you so much for the support, man. Really appreciate it. That support really means a lot to me, especially with what I'm doing. Again, welcome to the chat or the stream. Hopefully you're having a good time in Iceland. 6, damn it, Will. Hey, 6, what's going on, man? How you doing? Yes, there was music. Okay, great. JD, hey, welcome to the stream, man. How's it going? Music was on and lit. Thanks, I appreciate it. I should have turned my mic off, but I realized that halfway through the thing. So anyway, let's get started today. What I want to do is I have a lot of news to cover, and it's not, here's the thing, is a lot of this news is new to me. I actually, I looked at the topics. I'm like, okay, these are things that I can get down with to talk about. So we're just going to go through the news. I'm going to read through it, see if there's anything interesting. If not, we'll just move on to the next one. So I got like 10 stories, 10, maybe 12. There's a lot. So we're going to unpack. We'll go through it. So the first thing that, let me share the screen here first. There we go. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is Sony. So Sony is unveiling a 5G flagship, Xperia 1 2, which sounds like a really weird name for a phone. So Sony unveils the 5G flagship Xperia 1 2 and a mid-range Xperia 10 2. These names are weird. I just don't know if... Anyway, update Xperia Pro with HDMI input. Okay, so this article is from Android Police. The company's flagship has a headphone jack again. Okay. So Sony's smartphone design language has long stagnated, but last year the company stepped up its game with the Xperia 1 and 10. I haven't owned a Sony phone in a while. It's been a while. I was just talking about this not too long ago, and I was trying to remember which Xperia phone I had. I was a big fan of Sony phones for a while, and I just... I guess I moved on from there. One of the big things that I loved about Sony phones was the form factor. It was a much smaller size than what the trend was going at the time. I mean, that trend is still going, right? We still keep getting bigger phones as time goes on. And I don't know. I don't know much about these phones. So all of this stuff that I'm reading is going to be new for me. So let's see here. Coming in with 21:9 displays and slightly more rounded corners than Xperia devices of old. So looks like it's this here. And actually what I'll do is I'll play this. Let me mute the music because I haven't seen this either. So it says today the company has released follow-ups for these two phones, the Xperia 1 2 and 10 2. Oh, okay. So Xperia 1 Mark II. I gotcha. And okay, stepping up both handset cameras and resurrecting the headphone jack on the high-end device. Wait. So the mid-range device isn't going to have a headphone jack, but the high-end one is? Okay, so that's kind of reverse from what's going on right now, with flagship phones. Usually the flagship phones won't have a headphone jack, and the mid-range ones will. So okay, so it's also Sony's first to come with 5G. The phones are heavily tailored towards movie and photography enthusiasts. They both come with Zeiss branded triple lens arrays, though in contrast to Samsung's astronomical 108 megapixel camera, they only go up to 12 megapixels, but that doesn't necessarily have to be it's not a bad thing, guys. But let's get this megapixel race just out of the way. It's a bullshit thing. Really what matters here is the sensor and really the final image, right? What we get out of it. So anyway, the 21 by 9-inch displays follow the trend of ever taller screen ratios, which can help you scroll less. Like any other recent Sony phone, the Xperia. Here, let me play this one too. That's what I like about Xperias, though, is they've always had really good build quality, like really good design. At least I thought so. Like any other recent Sony phone, the Xperia 1 Mark II consists of glass front and back. Its triple camera array has been moved to the upper left corner on the back, leaving only the Sony logo in the middle and the Xperia 1 at the bottom. A headphone jack sits up top, while the USB-C port is at the bottom. The power button on the right side below the volume rocker has an integrated fingerprint reader again. Okay. The display is left untouched by notches or cutouts of any kind, and the top and bottom bezels, sporting two front-facing speakers, are evenly distributed. Okay, so two front-facing speakers, which is great. Apart from the fact that this is the first 5G phone in Sony's lineup, I just get tired of seeing all this 5G stuff, but whatever. So it has a Snapdragon 865. The company has also heavily focused on camera features in the Xperia 1 Mark II. It advertises the high-end autofocus and the sensor software that allows you to take burst shots with up to 60 images per second. There's also a pro cinematography mode that comes courtesy of Sony's Cine Alta know-how and gives you more manual controls. You can choose which frame rate to shoot in, adjust the white balance, and select a preferred aspect ratio. Okay. Not only content creation, but also consumption is supposedly a strong point of the phone. Oh shit, I was playing music on that, wasn't I? My bad. As a 21 by 9-inch HDR 4K display is coupled with Dolby Atmos sound. A headphone jack is included too. It has become way too rare these days. Yeah, Sony has also added some enhancements to Android's multi-window view to better utilize the added vertical space when you use the phone in the regular orientation. On the hardware front, it's great to see 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. The 4,000 milliamp hour battery should also give the Xperia 1 Mark II Snapdragon 865 plenty of power. Okay, so I'm just looking here to see what specs it comes with. Let me just check chat. Xperia Z3. I think that's what I had too. I can't remember. Six says they're using the headphone jack as a key feature to raise it to a flagship. It's crazy, right? Like that's, I don't know. This is going to be maybe a back and forth thing. It's good to see Sony do something different and say, hey, let's put the headphone jack in the flagship phone, but let's remove it in the mid-tier one. So I don't know. Enforce, hey, welcome to the stream. Enforce says, well, so it's way better than not having it. Front-facing speakers plus a headphone jack is 5 out of 5. Yeah, totally agree. Front-facing speakers has, ever since the Nexus 6P days, before that too, I think. It's always been my thing. I love front-facing speakers. And to know that both of them are front-facing is great. And a headphone jack. I mean, these are things that I still feel like should be a thing today. So, and then here's some news on the Xperia 10, I guess, Mark II, which is their mid-tier one. So they're calling it a super mid-range phone. It inherits many features from the 1 Mark II, particularly in the design department. Its exterior looks just like its more high-end sibling. Judging from its hardware specs, it's indeed an upper mid-range device. It comes with a 21 by 9 6-inch OLED display, 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and a 5G less Snapdragon 665. The battery has a capacity of 3,600 milliamp hours. I'm just wondering on this Xperia 1 with 8 gigs of RAM, I mean, I'm guessing it should do the job. I'm just so used to seeing 12 gigs of RAM or 16 gigs, and it's like, I now at this point I'm just expecting it to be a thing, but I'm sure it'll still do the job well at 8 gigs. Here with 4 gigs, I don't know if it will. The Xperia 1 Mark II will be available in black, purple, and white, while the 10 Mark II will come in black, white, and some mint color. The company will start selling the phones in, quote, select markets starting spring of 2020. So there's no real pricing yet. It won't launch its successor at $1,000 too, has learned from the Xperia. Okay. Sony is not yet sharing any details about US availability, so I guess we don't know if it's going to come here for sure, nor pricing, but we have learned that it intends to sell the Xperia 1 Mark II for about, I don't know what that is in US, making our wishes for a sub $1,000 price tag seem pretty darn unlikely. Okay, so it'll be pretty expensive. So the Sony Xperia Pro, Sony has also introduced a professional smartphone with some interesting features. Why is it, quote, a professional smartphone? What makes a professional smartphone? The Xperia Pro looks more ruggedized and trades the glass back for a dielectric, am I saying that right, constant material that's supposed to help maintain a more reliable 5G connection. Oh, that's pretty interesting. An additional shortcut button on the side lets you launch specific apps. Okay, that's kind of cool too. You can even connect your camera to the Xperia Pro via an extra Type D HDMI port and use the phone as a monitor for live streaming. Oh, that's really interesting. So this is something that actually I was talking about recently, is I'd like to see a smartphone hook up to some sort of HDMI to, use its processing power for more than just a phone, right? Which is really interesting because it's something that I'm going to talk about later with 16 gigs of RAM and all that kind of stuff. We're spending $1,000, $1,200, $1,400 for a phone. Let's use it for more than just what it is. Let's use it for more than just the phone, right? Let's connect it to a monitor. Let's do some other things with it so that it's an actual portable computer that we can carry around with us. Sorry, I'm looking through the chat here. JD says, I give Sony props for front-facing speakers. I give Sony props for that too. Mike made it. Hi, Mike. Are you sneaking away from work to get on here? Mike, welcome to the chat. And Four says, I'm very happy with Xperia 1 Mark II came out, but that price is mad. It is. That's and this is something that if you didn't see, Enforce, Mike and I on Sunday, we hold a show called The Standard, and we spent about 45 minutes talking about prices of phones. And I just think phone prices are too high. Mike agrees. And I think at this time, we're just talking about maybe it's best to wait, play things out, and then just try to find the best deals instead of getting the latest and greatest. Yeah, Mike is saying here $1,500. I mean, I guess at this point I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't. JD says pay to play. Yeah, Jerome get two. No, that's not happening. Not when I'm looking at $500 phones at this point as like my top end. I think that's what I'm going to do from now on. And actually, you know what? I have this idea to look for like these knockoff phones on eBay or find the cheapest phones I can buy for like under like $25 and see if they're even worth using. If they even have any, I don't know. It's just something that's been going through my head. Let's see here. And Four says if it drops under 1,000, I might buy it over the Pixel 4a XL. Okay. Let's see. Hey, Tech for Your Needs. Welcome to the chat, man. How's it going? Samsung Dex. All right. Yeah, Tech for Your Needs. How's it going, man? Thanks again for joining the stream. Let's see. Will just said, just deposited my 6p money. Thanks, Google. I just for some reference here, Will did that whole thing where there was a lawsuit, right, from Huawei and Google that a lot of these phones were defective. The Nexus 6P, the Nexus 5X, especially because of their boot looping issue. And Will got some fat money from Google, right? I think it was in the tone of, I don't know, a couple $100. So makes me really jealous because that's something I should have applied for and I totally forgot to do that. Didn't say totally forgot. I was kind of being lazy about it, but that's a couple extra $100 I should have had in my pocket. Sean, true. Hey, Sean, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for making it here. Let me see here. That memorial. Oh, we talking about Kobe's thing. I actually missed that yesterday. I'm gonna have to catch that. Mike says blue phone. Get one, Jerome. Yeah. There you go. I should actually look and see. These are cheaper phones. I want to maybe get a look into and see how feasible they are today in 2020. Like, can I work with a $50 phone? Like, can I go through a whole week using a $50 phone, like a brand new $50 phone? Is it enough to actually do what I need to do? Part of me feels like it will, but part of me also feels like I'm going to get annoyed using it, which is actually not a bad idea to just to try. Sean says, I never got my 6P money. Yeah, me neither, but I didn't fill out the forms. So you might get it, man, because there was just an article saying they were just getting sent out. So you never know. All right, let's move on here. So the next article I have is from The Verge. Oppo's Find X2 flagship phone will be announced next week with a 120 hertz, quote, 3K screen. So Oppo has announced that its next flagship phone, the Find X2, is coming next week. The company planned to reveal the device at Mobile World Congress 2020 in Barcelona, and then they canceled that because of the whole coronavirus thing. It's now decided to conduct the unveiling online next Friday, March 6th. Okay, so soon. You might remember the original Find X from 2018. Is there audio on this? I just don't want... If audio is playing and it's throwing you guys off, just let me know. It was an ambitious phone that sought to avoid the display notch by hosting a selfie camera and a 3D face unlock system in a motorized module that rose up from behind the screen. Right, so like a pop-up display. Oppo's marketing has tweeted a hint. I just want to see what this tweet is. The screen that a 20... Okay, well, it's not really what I was looking for. At what to expect... 128 hertz 3K display with curved edges. Does 3K mean the screen has around 3,000 pixels on the long edge? It's just a way to get around the fact that no one can agree on whether 2K means 1080p or 1440p. It's great that these phones have great displays and I love it, but a lot of times I don't notice, right? I don't notice 1080, 1440. They all look good to me. They're all on a small ass screen. Again, I'm not trying to knock great displays, because great displays are a good thing, but then again, we're paying premium price for that, right? Break out that $1,000. So I don't know. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up. Let's see, George. There are better options for budget phones than blue, in my honest opinion. George, you should let me know. This is a thing I might want to start doing. Anyway, George, welcome to the stream. Thanks for coming, man. Gilio Jax, get the Moto G power. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into Moto more. Mike, Simply Your Device, was nice enough to lend me his Moto G7. And, it's a pretty serviceable phone, especially at the price at $180. Mike was able to find it for a great deal at that price. Moto is a company that I have loved their phones when they first came out with the Moto X Pure. And I think even the first gen Moto G, I think they were great additions to the smartphone world. I haven't kept up with Moto since, because I know a lot of things changed when they got bought out and then Lenovo got involved. And yeah, I don't know. But it is something that I'll have to take a look at again. So Tech for Your Needs says, name for this series, Ballin' on a Budget. Yeah, that's great. That's a great name for it. Okay, so let's see here. Sorry, I'm going through the chat. So yeah, so anyway, Oppo, just another name here, another phone getting thrown into the market. It's good to see competition. So like, I can't hate. All right, so let's move on. There is this article that I saw. I haven't read it yet, and I thought it was pretty interesting. So it says here, the Samsung. Sorry, I need to hide this chat. The Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra battery life. 120 hertz display takes 3 hours off. I guess in a lot of ways this isn't surprising, but I wanted to kind of dig into here and see exactly what they had to say. So it says the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra delivers epic battery life, but the 120 hertz display mode is a huge drain. Luckily, this is something you can control. So the Galaxy S20 Ultra has a huge has a huge 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So you would expect it to last a long time on a charge. However, while this phone offers a lot of endurance with the display in 60 hertz mode, using the 120 hertz refresh rate on the Galaxy S20's Ultra screen takes a huge toll on battery life. We put the Galaxy S20 through our battery test 4 times, which involves continuous web surfing over cellular, in this case T-Mobile 5G, at 150 nits of screen brightness. 2 of the tests were run with the display set to 60 hertz mode, and 2 were in 120 hertz mode. I'm glad that they did this more than once, right? Just to be sure that this is the battery life that they're getting. So with 60 hertz mode on, the Galaxy S20 Ultra averaged 11 hours and 58 minutes, which, wow, 11, so 12 hours, and enough to earn this device a spot on our best phone battery life test. We consider any smartphone that gets above 11 hours to be very good, and anything that approaches or exceeds 12 hours of runtime to be great. However, it was a completely different story when we turned on the Galaxy S20 Ultra's 120 hertz mode, which is designed to provide smoother motion when scrolling, playing games, and more. This Android phone lasted only 9 hours and 13 minutes, which is nearly 3 hours less than with 60 hertz turned on. So, here's a little info on how or what the battery life is. I'm just looking at these other phones here. So, compared to, again, almost 12 hours with 60 hertz on, 9 hours with 120 hertz. So the Galaxy S10 Plus gets over 12 hours. The 11 Pro Max close to 12 hours, just about what the S20 Ultra is getting. Yeah, these are great numbers regardless, right? The Google Pixel XL. So this 4-year-old phone is up on this top ranking chart, but you don't see any of the new Google Pixels here. The good news is that you can easily toggle between 60 hertz and 120 hertz, which is great, under the settings on the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. And the 60 hertz mode is enabled by default. While the Galaxy S20 Ultra's best battery life result is good, it's a step behind the Galaxy S10 Plus's runtime of 12 hours and 35 minutes. This could be for a couple reasons. First, the Galaxy S20 has a larger 6.9-inch display. I mean, yeah, we're talking about a half hour extra, which is still a lot of time, but I'm guessing at that point, I mean, this is still great battery life at 60 hertz. First, the Galaxy S20 has a larger 6.9-inch display compared to 6.4 inches for the S10 Plus. Second, the S20 Ultra has a 5G modem, which likely uses more power than 4G. Still, the Galaxy S20 Ultra, Galaxy Note 10 Plus beat the Galaxy 10 Note. God, these names are... So, the Galaxy S20 Ultra, Galaxy Note 10 Plus... No, that's not right. Anyway, it's all... Anyway, the Note 10 Plus lasted just 10 hours and 47 minutes with its 4,300 milliamp hour battery. So the S20 Ultra's 5,000 milliamp hour battery definitely gives it an advantage. The iPhone 11 Pro Max turned in a similar time to the S20 Ultra with 11 hours and 54 minutes. Apple's flagship phone has a smaller 6.5-inch display with a 60 hertz refresh rate. However, rumors suggest that the iPhone 12 will offer a 120 hertz rate, similar to the ProMotion displays on the iPad and iPad Pro. What do you guys think? Do you think Apple's next flagship for 2020, do you think it's going to have 120 hertz? I would love to see that, but I wonder if Apple will even give us the option to turn it off, because you know how Apple is sometimes. It's like, no, this is what you're going to get, and we're not going to change anything, and this is how you're going to get it, and end of story. That's going to mess with battery life. So I'm just wondering if Apple's really going to do that. I don't know. So let's see here. Will says everyone hit like. Yes, please, guys. If you're enjoying this stream, if you like what I do, this would really help me out. I know it's not a lot, but please feel free to click on that like button. Feel free to share, subscribe. Your support, I appreciate it. Again, Brian earlier, super chat's open, guys, so feel free. So any kind of support is very helpful for me. So George says here, remember the Plus versions of Moto are always the best option, even though they're not officially US. They work perfectly on T-Mobile. George, that's great thing to point out. Will says, wow, 3 hours off SMH is 120 hertz worth that? I mean, that's the real question, right? Is it really worth it then if you're going to be losing that much battery life? But maybe if you're tethered to a power source, or if you always have a way to juice up, then it might be worth it for people like that, right? I remember when I make battery tests and people are bitching like, well, why would you keep your phone off the charger that long? It's like, well, because some people do. There are people like me that do that. Like, I am not sitting at a desk all day. I'm not. I mean, unless I'm editing video or whatever, but a lot of times, like, man, some people's lives, some people don't like sit at a desk all day. Some people are out and about and like they can't be charging their phone all the time. So obviously people have different lives and they're doing different things. So anyway, whatever. Six says, LOL, and they were planning on going to quad HD with 120 hertz. Yeah, I mean, imagine what the battery life would have been then. JD says 2020 flagship phones, 1,000 or above standard, 4K HDR, 120 hertz, 5,000 milliamp hour battery, 16 gigs RAM, 256 gig base storage, front facing dual speakers, face unlock, fingerprint scanner, wide telly, space, selfie, standard cams. Yeah, I think that's at that point, that's what you expect. All these things for 1,000 or above. One company that's not doing that for 1,000 or above is Apple. They're able to sell $1,000 phone and have a lot of those things missing, but I still feel like they do a lot of things right. So, Will says here, the iPad Pro is so smooth. I haven't really used an iPad Pro in a while. I just use my MacBook Pro. Enforce, what I like about Jerome, he isn't on the train like everyone that justifies the removal of the jack. To be honest, it's a useful feature for years to come. Bluetooth's been out for 20 years barely, but the jack's been out for 140 plus years. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Enforce, is like, I feel two ways about it, right? I understand why they get rid of the headphone jack. I'm not saying I understand. I feel like it's something that they can still keep on a phone, right? I don't feel like it hampers the use of a phone. People can say, oh, well, water resistance or whatever. I don't know, man. I'm not like everyone else. I don't keep my phone. I'm not jumping in a pool with the phone in my pocket because why? I've had people ask me before, like, because this phone is waterproof, can I take my phone in the shower? It's like, okay, yeah, you can take the phone in the shower if you want, but why? Why would you are you tethered to your phone that much that you need to keep it in the shower? I understand, I guess, if you want to have your phone in there to play music, but come on, man. Like, no, you don't. I don't know. Whatever. I do have AirPods Pro, and I like using that, and that's because I go to the gym. And for me, when I used to lift with like a wired headset or whatever, it would always get tangled, or I would find myself like knocking the phone out of my pocket because like the weights get in the way or the cable gets in the way. But there are a lot of people, again, who do sit at a desk, right? And they don't need wireless. It would be great if they just connect through without a dongle and whatever. So anyway, that's how I feel about it. Akbar, Worth. I'm not sure. There's just a lot going on in the chat, but I just want to say, Akbar, thank you so much for joining the stream. Appreciate your support, man. 6, phenomenal, psychological, crazy. 6, yeah, that's an inside joke, guys. I'll leave it at that. JD says 90 to 120 hertz are really for the gamers. Yeah, I can see that too. Here's the thing: is I have a Pixel 4, right? I have a Pixel 4 that's capable of 90 hertz, and I never turn it on. Never. I mean, one of the reasons I never turn it on is because the battery's pretty on it, right? So why am I going to leave 90 hertz on if I know it's going to make it worse? That's what I've been doing on it. Will says, I don't think Apple will do 120 hertz. I don't think so either at this point. I mean, it would be great to see, but if Apple knows it's going to take that much battery life, Yeah, I don't know. Will says Will says George says I agree with Will. I don't see Apple going there. Yeah, I don't either. Brian, hey, what's up, man? Uh, found a spot with service. Great. Glad that you're back in the stream. Glad to have you again. Thank you for the super chat earlier. If you missed it, really means a lot to me. All right, Mike's busy going through work and doing his stuff, but um, I know how Will feels. Headphone jack is old. It had to go. I still don't know if it has to go, right? Like it's just a small spot in the phone. Like, why does it have to go? Why can't it be there? I mean, is it really affecting the phone in any way? I don't know. That's how I feel. Enforce, yeah, that's true. It's justifiable for sports. It isn't the best, but it just works for everything else I have. Why? I mean, and again, that's how I feel. Like, why can't it be a thing? Why can't it be there? I don't know. All right. So kind of switch a little bit here. And I kind of have a mix of things. So, depending on how interesting I find it, we might stick with it for a little bit. We might go past it. So, I have this article here that talks about from the Next Web. Hackers earned nearly $40 million in bug bounties in 2019. I don't know if you know how this works, guys, but things like Facebook, things like YouTube, Instagram, they're always susceptible, and not even those, like games, right? There are a lot of places where people find holes in games because they can use it to enable cheats, right? They can use it for their advantage. And what a lot of companies do is they offer quote unquote hackers. These would be, the good hackers, right? To find the holes in these systems or programs. And if they find it and they let the companies know, they get money for it. And there's a lot of money to be made if you are good at finding these things, good at programming. And I don't know, I just kind of I thought it was interesting. It's interesting for me. So I figured might as well go through it. So ethical hacking is swiftly turning into a lucrative spare time activity for a small chunk of white hat hackers, at least. In its annual report, breach disclosure platform HackerOne revealed it handed out nearly 40 million in bug bounties to security researchers in 2019 alone. The amount equals almost half of the 82 million the company has cumulatively awarded over the years. I mean, what I like about it is it helps companies, right, find these holes, but it also lets, quote unquote hackers stop hacking in a bad way, and it kind of gives them a job, right? Like you hear about people who go to jail for hacking a bank or whatever, but usually they come out of that and end up being like a security consultant or whatever to help out future things like this from happening. HackerOne further noted that there are now 7 hackers on its platform that have scooped over $1 million for finding security kinks, as well as 13 more whose earnings have flown past the $500,000 mark. Of course, those high earners represent only a tiny fraction of the platform's more than 600,000 registered researchers. It's a ton of money, guys. Ethical hacking appears to be booming in Austria and Switzerland, with researchers from those regions earning 950% more than what they did in the year before. That's crazy. White hatters, which is what you call these hackers. There's the white hat, the good hackers from Singapore, China, and other countries from the APAC area, also increased their bounties by 250% year over year, according to the report. Still, the most prominent bounty hunter by nation is the US, which clinched 19% of all prize money in 2019, followed by India and Russia with 10% and 8%, respectively. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. I just thought it was interesting. Just wanted to kind of go through it. Okay. Sorry. It's like I like to go through the chat and just to kind of keep engaged with you guys. So let's see here. Will says Apple's in no rush to just cram in features just to make a spec list look good. I mean, that's right. If you guys, you guys are aware of this. Apple likes to think about what they do before they do it, right? They're not jumping on that trend right away. They like to plan and figure out what's the best way to implement it. And again, this could be quoted as boring to some people, but this is Apple's way. And a lot of times, this is why they have phones that last a lot longer, right? Like they've planned this kind of stuff out. Like they've been readying themselves for it. JD says it had to go for Apple to make more money. Yes, I'm not arguing with that at all. Why put the headphone jack in there if we can sell these AirPods for you and make a couple extra dollars out of that, or a couple extra, billion. And Force says true. Same with the S20 series also. I mean, this is a fact of life, guys. Like these companies, they want to squeeze as much as they can out of us. Will says if the headphone jack was still around, we wouldn't have Galaxy Buds or AirPods Pro. I mean, we can't have both. I mean, let's be real. We could have both, but yeah, I know this is a way to force people out of that market and get people to, again, like Will says, still buy wired. Okay, so let's see. What else do I have here? So I have this article from Engadget that says Samsung's new chips usher in smartphones with 16 gigs of DRAM. These chips are also 30% faster and use less power. 16 gigs of RAM, guys, on a phone. Just FYI, my editing PC that I built 2 years ago. I mean, this thing is still a beast, but I spent almost $2,500 building this thing, and mine has 32 gigs of RAM. So to know a phone has 16 gigs, close to that's crazy. You could soon see more and faster DRAM in the next generation flagship smartphones than in many PCs. Samsung just unveiled the first 16 gig LPDDR5 mobile DRAM chips built on its second generation 10 nanometer process tech, the company announced. We've already seen this chip in Samsung's Galaxy S20 Ultra, and it'll appear in more flagship phones in the very near future. On top of boosting the memory of upcoming smartphones, it'll make them faster as well, thanks to the LPDDR5's 5500 megabits per second speeds, about 30% quicker than 4266 megabits per second, 8 gigs LPDDR4X chips. The chips also use 20% less energy than last generation chips, Samsung said. How do you guys feel about 8 gigs of RAM on a phone today? Do you feel like that's not enough? I mean, let's not talk about the iPhone here. We know iPhone works a lot more efficient, but as far as Android phones, would you buy let's say, okay, for example, Sony's a perfect example. So that Sony phone I was talking about earlier, the Xperia 1 Mark II, that's not going to be a high-end phone for over $1,000. That's going to have 8 gigs of RAM. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys feel that you would spend $1,000 on a Sony phone, on a Sony Android phone, knowing that it only has 8 gigs of RAM? Or at this point, do you need 16? It's just a question I'm wondering about. Okay, so Samsung's making pretty quick strides, as it's just been 7 months since it launched its 12 gig LPDDR5 chips with similar speeds. 16 gig represents quite a milestone for mobile chips. Even though they're only likely to appear in flagship smartphones, the chips will boost RAM in those devices above or equal to many PCs, which have been stuck on 8 to 16 gig RAM levels for years. Samsung said that the DRAM will help 5G and AI-equipped phones deal with increased amounts of data. That's interesting. I didn't know that this DRAM would help in that regard, helping them run more smoothly. It'll also support, quote, dynamic and responsive gameplay, as well as ultra-high resolution graphics on premium smartphones for highly immersive mobile gaming experience, according to the company. Next up, Samsung will build 16 gig LPDDR5 chips based on third generation 10 nanometer process tech that will hit even higher 6400 megabits per second speeds. This breakneck tech development doesn't come cheap, however. Samsung Galaxy's S20 Ultra above is equipped with the latest 16 gig chip and starts at $1399. I like how they say that it doesn't come cheap, because again, my question is, how much did it cost to make the Galaxy S20 Ultra? So it sells for $1,400, but I really wonder how much profit Samsung is making off of this phone, because we all know that this Galaxy S20 Ultra didn't cost $1,400 to build, right? As far as parts and labor, I don't even know if it's half of that, right? Like, I wonder if the Galaxy S20 Ultra really cost $750 to build, because that's quite a profit margin. It's quite a profit margin. So, sorry, looking through the chat now. Are you guys talking about the earbuds or the headphone jack? Okay, so George says 8 gigs seems like more than enough to me. But the question here, George, is would you spend $1,000 on an Android phone if you knew it only had 8 gigs of RAM at this point? Or do you feel like, no, at $1,000 I should be getting at least 16 gigs of RAM? That I guess that's what I was wondering. Will says, wait till Apple adds 6 gigs of RAM. Jerome is done with phones. I might be, Will. I might be. He says, if you buy a flagship, keep it for years, then you won't feel so ripped off, which is true. It's still hard for me to justify spending that much money on a phone. JD says he's had it. I might, man. I might. It doesn't mean that I don't love tech, because I still do. It's just hard to pull my wallet out and just buy whatever's coming out. All right. So let's move on. There's this article from GeekWire that's talking about Amazon's Go Grocery. The tech giant opens its first full-size store without cashiers or checkout lines. Amazon Go is going full grocery. I haven't read this, so I'm actually interested in how this is going to work. 2 years after launching a chain of convenience stores without cashiers or checkout lines, Amazon is opening its first Amazon Go grocery store in Seattle on Tuesday morning. Is that today? That's today. Enlarging the footprint for surveillance-style shopping and signaling a larger challenge to the broader world of brick-and-mortar retail. The debut is also the answer to a long-standing mystery about the 7,700 square foot space at blah, 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 so somewhere in Seattle. Last fall, the company confirmed that its Amazon Go team was, quote, running internal tests at the location, but declined to say more until now. GeekWire got a sneak peek at the store during a recent media preview, entering by scanning a smartphone app. Okay, so you go in, you scan your app, and strolling the aisles of the completely stocked store. The banks of cameras and sensors overhead track everything put into a shopping cart with the help of artificial intelligence, rendering unnecessary the old-fashioned ritual of scanning and paying at a checkout stand. Items are charged to a shopper's Amazon account shortly after they walk through the exit. Okay, so my first question on how this Amazon Go grocery store works is, what if I'm buying stuff like green beans, right? Am I supposed to put it in a bag and then weigh it, and then it knows that, and I put it in the cart? Or can I just put all that stuff in a cart and then it knows? I'm just wondering. Apart from the larger size, the concept is very similar to the Amazon Go convenience stores that first opened to the public in Seattle in January 2018. Amazon Go has expanded to 25 locations across cities, including San Francisco, Chicago. I haven't seen one of these. I'm going to have to find where this is at, because I would just like to go in there and check it out. That smaller concept size between 450 and 2,700 square feet ushered in an era of grab and go shopping. What Amazon Go did for central business districts, like locating it very close to where people work, I'm guessing maybe it's in downtown Chicago, where you can grab breakfast, lunch, snacks. Amazon Go Grocery does the same thing, but closer to home. I don't know. I like the idea, right? I like the idea of walking into a place, getting your stuff, and leaving without having to like pull your card out or pull your phone out. Oh, I mean, I guess you still have to pull your phone out, right? Because you still have to scan in. But other than that, maybe that's it. So I'm actually, if I'm looking here, it says use your app to enter, bag as you shop, and then just walk out. What Amazon is looking for is yet another answer to traditional retail, where it's leveraging convenience and technology in a $675 billion U.S. grocery industry. Just kind of skimming through at this point. Plans for an even larger grocery concept in Los Angeles and elsewhere are something else entirely. I think it fits the neighborhood. It's the right size. It's an interesting challenge to be able to fit all the selection that people would care about in a store. So here's something with fruits. Again, just questions about how you would bag stuff that needs to get weighed. Hundreds of cameras in the ceiling overhead. Most of the things at Amazon Go are packaged, or they're single items like a can of Coke. But here people are shopping for potatoes, or they're shopping for onions. There's a lot more browsing and rummaging that tends to happen. That's what makes this problem a lot more complicated. Okay, Amazon's goal is to generate accurate receipts no matter how long you stand over the avocados or apples, shifting them around and picking them up before settling on 3 and then changing your mind to 2. Okay, so it's charging by the price or by the piece, but like I'm not you're not charging me for like 50 green beans, right? Um Sorry, I'm just trying to see if they have that actual like concept of what I'm wondering here. I might have missed it. There is no meat or seafood counter and no food preparation on the premises. Fish, chicken, and beef products are brought in several times a week, individually wrapped. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you're not looking for a particular cut, or I think that's something though with going into a grocery store is like, your butcher, your baker who's in there, or you might want something specific. But yeah, this is kind of like you go in and you get out. There's also an artisan cheese area where people can get the same sort of quick education via signage rather than from a human cheesemonger. Why does human cheese, that sounds so it's like you're diminishing what they do for a living. Unless I'm thinking of cheesemonger and whatever. Okay, so in an aisle featuring other grocery essentials and household supplies, such as cleaning products and deodorant, there is also pet food, treats, toys, and cat litter. The store wouldn't be complete if you didn't really have an ode to pets. And it's another indication that Amazon Go Grocery goes beyond Amazon Go. Okay, anyway, let's kind of leave it there. Let me see here. JD says, I went there last year. It was dope. Huh. You'll have to tell me about that because I'm not sure how that works. I mean, is it so? Do you go in there? Do you scan a barcode on your phone to let the store know you're in there, and then that's it? Once you scan it, you get your stuff and go. Like, what if you went in there? What if you went in there? You scanned your phone, so it scanned it, and like you just grab like 20 things right away, and then just like ran out. Do you think it would grab all of that? Do you think it would know that? I'm not saying to do it. I'm just saying, is it smart enough to know what you grabbed that quickly? Or is there, I don't know. I'm just curious how that works. Will says, I wish we had that in Jersey. Okay, so we'll go a little off topic here. Enforce says, what do you guys think Google will use the Snapdragon 765 for the Pixel 4 AXL maybe? It would be ideal for a mid-range phone. I think a lot of people were talking about that Snapdragon 765, saying that it would be pretty ideal. I think no more than 500 is justifiable, and also at least 6 gigs is bare for mid. Yeah, I really don't know what they're going to do at this point. But actually, I just want to say, I don't know if you have that deal enforced, because here in the States, there's a special going on. I don't know if that special is still going on right now, but if you go to Costco, you can get a Pixel 4 XL for $399, which is a hell of a deal. Find one and vlog it. Yeah, I really should. I think that would be pretty interesting. Yeah. So let's see here. JD says it uses your Prime account to charge you, but yeah, I just grab stuff, put stuff back, left, and it charged me for the right stuff. That's interesting. Brian says they have meal kits too for quick cooking. That's awesome. I would love to see how this stuff works. I really would. And Force says human cheese sounds strange. Yeah, I think I would pass on that one. So, all right, let's move on. Here's an article here from Android Central about the Redmi K30 Pro to arrive next month with a pop-up selfie camera and 5G support. So back in December of last year, Xiaomi's Redmi sub-brand launched the Redmi K30 Pro, or Redmi K30, with dual hole punch cameras and a 120 hertz display. The company has now announced on Weibo that it will be taking the wraps off the Redmi K30 Pro in March. The poster shared on Weibo by the company today suggests the Redmi K30 Pro will feature a pop-up selfie camera like the Redmi K20 Pro, instead of the Redmi K30's oval-shaped hole punch cutout. Real quick, here's how I feel about the pop-up camera. I think I would rather have that than the cutout or a notch. I don't know. I know there are issues with having a pop-up camera, right? Like, is how durable or how long will that motorized camera last? But I think for me, in an aesthetics view, I would rather have a full screen display. Obviously, the better answer here is you want the camera underneath the display, but I know that's something they're still working on. I've actually never seen a pop-up camera in real life. I've never seen how that operates. I really wish I could. But I do, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I think in a way it's like, I don't know, maybe it's, in a way it seems like retro because it's like, it's something you would see that would happen in the 80s, like a motorized, like remember when cars in the 80s, they had pop-up headlights. I think of it like that. And maybe it's an ode to that. Maybe it's just like my retro way of thinking. Okay, so according to rumors, the Redmi K30 Pro will be powered by a Snapdragon 865 chipset under the hood with a Snapdragon X55 modem for 5G connectivity. At the rear, it's expected to have a similar quad camera array as the Redmi K30 with a 64 megapixel main sensor. Keeping the lights on could be a large 4700 milliamp hour battery with 33 watt wired fast charging. In addition to China, the Redmi K30 Pro is likely to make its way to few global markets as well. So I'm pretty sure it's not a US thing. Last year's Redmi K20 Pro was launched in several markets across Europe as the Xiaomi Mi 9T Pro. Oh, that's right. I think this phone might be marketed right as So Xiaomi, I'll just read this last sentence. The standard Redmi K30 was rebranded and relaunched as the Poco X2 in the Indian market earlier this month. So maybe it's not going to be something that's coming to the States. So let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. Just I've never owned a Redmi. I've also never owned a Poco, but it's nice to see these other companies, or I guess these are like sub companies, right? A bigger company makes something and then they'll kind of off brand it and make different things. Okay, so let's move on. I have this article here from The Verge and I didn't read it. I have no idea what it's about, but I was actually interested. It says here, the best Apple rumor right now is Gmail. It's past time for third-party default apps on the iPhone. So I'm not sure exactly. Okay. Apple rumors have heated up in the past week. Following the usual spring tradition, Apple doesn't always have a keynote in the first quarter of the year, but when it does, it's a good time for it to update or announce products that aren't necessarily central to its business. But the leaks and innuendos so far don't have the air of inevitability that often accompanies Apple rumors yet, so I wouldn't block off your calendar just yet. But if you want to believe, the current best guesses point to something happening towards the end of March. Right. And too long ago, I think last week, the iPhone SE2, aka the iPhone 9, AirTag location beacons. AirTag apparently is going to be Apple's answer to the Tile, right? Apple branded over-the-ear headphones. I think I have an article. I wanted to actually look into that because I haven't seen anything about that yet, or I haven't read into it yet. An updated iPad Pro. There's a lot of stuff coming for Apple if this is the case. And even updated MacBooks with the better keyboard have all been rumored. Getting all of that at once would make for a Homer car of an event. I don't know if you guys know what that Homer car means. Obviously, The Simpsons. But anyway, too many things unrealistically crammed into one package. So if this event even happens, I'd expect only a subset. I'm trying to see what this is about with the Gmail thing. I didn't even leave. Okay, so it's just about all these Apple events coming through. Anyway, the main reason I would want to switch away from most of the Apple apps and services I mentioned is that there are alternatives that work better across multiple operating systems and the web. It makes it easier for me to use the computer I want instead of being locked into Apple's hardware ecosystem. I think a lot of people feel that way. Plus, I can't help but note that Android, Windows, and even the Mac all make it much easier to replace services and apps that ship with the OS with something you like better from a third party. When Apple says that some of these default lock-ins, sorry, my mom's texting me. When Apple says that some of these default lock-ins are for user security and safety, I believe that that's at least partially true. I also believe that the fact that they make it somewhat more of a hassle for me to also use a Chromebook or a Windows computer is a feature of the system, not a bug. Did I miss it? I'm not exactly. I guess it's just using third-party apps here. Reports that Apple is considering allowing apps like Chrome and Gmail to be set as, oh, that's right, to use it as a default. I've been waiting for Apple to do this literally since the day the iPhone was able to run native third-party apps in the first place. Yeah, I guess at this point I'm just so used to Apple forcing you to use whatever. I mean, not forcing you, but you can't set stuff as default, which is really an inconvenience for a lot of people who want to use an iPhone that don't use every single service that Apple gives you. Yeah, I mean, at this point for me, I don't use the mail app, right? I don't use the mail app on my phone. I do have Gmail, and then I just open the app up. I mean, that's how it is for me. Yeah, JD was saying here, Apple's supposed to allow you to change the default apps. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, whether it happens or not, I guess we'll see. There's a big part of me that's like, this is app. I'm not trying to say Apple can do what they want, because that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm so used to Apple just, being so proprietary on their stuff that it doesn't surprise me. It's like, they're just going to lock you in. They're going to lock you in. Will saying, I don't care about default apps. Will, I know you love Apple. They do no wrong. I'm just messing with you, man. Okay, so next article here is HTC says it will release a 5G phone this year. I haven't heard from HTC in a while. I used to be a big fan of HTC, and then I stopped being a big fan of HTC. So HTC hasn't released a new flagship smartphone since the poorly designed U12 Plus in mid 2018. I don't think I ever owned that one. I think I had the U11 and the I had a lot of HTC phones. I've had so many that it's kind of lost track. And it's not something that, yeah, anyway. And the company's most recent budget device was last year's Exodus 1S. Never had it. I don't even think I remember seeing it, which shipped with Android Oreo. HTC doesn't seem to be done with phones quite yet. I don't know. As it plans to produce a 5G device sometime this year. It's kind of weird because I think about it and is like, is HTC just, it's like, yeah, let's make a phone. What do you guys think? Yeah, let's make one. And then they kind of half-ass it and they make something and they don't market it. And it kind of just seems like it's a run-of-the-mill phone. I could be wrong. It's been a while. Yeah. Anyway, Eves, I'm not saying that name right. Mater, the recently appointed CEO of HTC, said in an interview that the company will release a 5G connected phone sometime in 2020. Even though HTC hasn't released any 5G phones yet, the company did produce a portable 5G hub last year from multiple carriers. Mater didn't reveal any other details about the planned phone. I don't know. I'm just really skeptical. While it sounds like the 5G phone would be produced in-house, there's also a chance it could be developed through another manufacturer using the HTC name. So HTC wouldn't even make the phone? They just call it But a new line of HTC Wildfire devices was released last year, but the devices were built by China-based In1 Smart Technology. I don't know. Is it just because they want to keep their brand going? That's kind of weird. I don't know. N4 says here, HTC kind of forgot how to make a good phone. It's kind of how I feel. HTC One, M7, 8 was for me the last good phone. I had those phones. Everything else after that wasn't the best. Will says it's going to be like the new Moto 360. I like Motorola. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not really, don't hold your breath for it. I don't think anyone is. So, okay, next. So an article from Ars Technica. I pulled this up because I'm kind of an Xbox guy. I haven't owned an Xbox in a while, but I kind of like the design of this new Xbox that's coming out. I'm not saying I'm buying it, but I just thought it'd be interesting to read through. So the next Xbox will quadruple Xbox One's CPU, octuple its GPU performance. I remember reading saying that this new Xbox will compete with high-end smartphone or high-end PCs, because I use my PC to game. I don't know if you guys are gamers at all. I'm kind of a gamer. I play one game, really. I play Rocket League. It's the only game I play. I have like over 2,000 hours on that game, which is, it's very sad to admit. But anyway, so back in December, Microsoft showed us what the outside of the Xbox One Series X would look like. Today, the company is announcing in more detail what will be on the inside of the box, with a blog post discussing the machine's internal specs and new features focused mostly on speed and compatibility. So Microsoft reconfirmed today that existing Xbox One games, including backward compatible Xbox 360 and original Xbox games, would still be playable on the Series X with steadier frame rates, faster load times, and improved resolution and visual fidelity, which is great. All with no developer work required. Great to hear. Love that they're giving that backwards compatibility. More exciting though, Microsoft seemingly announced a new commitment to forward compatibility throughout the Xbox line via a program called Smart Delivery. So empowers you to buy a game once and know that whether you are playing on Xbox One or Xbox One Series X, you are getting the right version of that game on whatever Xbox you're playing on. That is pretty cool. That sounds a lot like the existing system that automatically downloads higher resolution packages for Xbox One X enhanced versions of older Xbox One games. I think that's a pretty neat feature, knowing that you might have this and you can keep it for a while. Microsoft was planning to use a Zen 2 architecture CPU inside the coming Series X, known back then as only Project Scarlet. Today, the company said that CPU will have 4 times the processing power of an Xbox One, and that the 12 teraflop GPU will be twice as fast as the Xbox One X, and 8 times as fast as the original Xbox One. Okay, so it uses AMD's RDNA 2 architecture. There's a little concrete known about this ray tracing ready update to last year's RDNA graphics cards. I'm not going to get into all that kind of stuff. Anyway, pretty cool. It's just something that I wanted to read for myself. I figure I just have you guys sit with me while I bore you with this. JD says PS4, Switch, and Stadia. I have a Switch. Actually, I sold my Switch recently, but yeah. Will says my son broke the Switch. N4 says, well, I'm a gamer, but I'm waiting to upgrade my 12-year-old PC. 12 years old. Have you upgraded it any time in between those 12 years to some sick machine? And I would first like to play the rest of the GTA series. To be honest, I have played in, I'm not sure what you're saying there, international cafes and watched. Anyway, a 12-year-old PC, man. I mean, I have a 2-year-old PC right now, and I'm ready to upgrade some parts on it. Anyway, okay, so I got 3 more articles left. I do have something about the over-the-air AirPods. I was actually curious about this. So leaks are suggesting that the new over-the-ear AirPods could be on their way. There have been rumors swirling for a while about Apple holding a product launch event sometime at the end of March, but now a leak from an internal product inventory at Target could give us clues about what kind of devices Apple might be showing off later this spring. So John Prosser, who's a YouTuber, says he was tipped off by multiple Target employees of a product listing for Apple AirPods. He was tipped off by multiple Target employees. Were there a bunch of people from Target who were just messaging John like, yo, check it out? I don't know. It's weird to me. With a price of $400. Holy shit. Suggests that a very new premium version of the AirPods is due out soon. $400. Okay. According to Apple Insider, who also spoke to Target employees hoping to confirm the leak, early product listings like this are often accurate when it comes to pricing, while the X generation tag is simply a placeholder for a product that hasn't officially been announced yet. Furthermore, if we take that $400 price tag and then look at all the current AirPod line, with Apple having already refreshed the original AirPods last spring and introduced the AirPods Pro in late 2019. Rumors about Apple planning to release an over-the-ear version of the AirPods or maybe a new pair of Beats headphones. Okay, I mean, I guess if they're like Beats ones, right? Like higher end ones make a lot of sense, especially with companies like Microsoft having already released their own take on high-end noise canceling cans with the Surface headphones. Along with a new addition to the AirPods family, Prosser says Target employees also found clues about several other upcoming Apple gadgets, including a 10.5-inch iPad and a new iPod Touch priced at $400. I mean, Apple might be just coming out with a ton of shit. Prosser claims that this iPod Touch is actually a placeholder for a new $400 iPhone. Okay, though I'm very skeptical on the idea that Apple would actually release a new iPhone with a price that low. Really? Isn't this something that we've been talking about for a while? Okay, so okay. So he's saying that he thinks that the iPhone SE2 or the iPhone 9, whatever they call it, is going to be 500 to $650, which would be unfortunate because I really would love to see Apple release a phone for $400. Um, if Apple releases a phone at 500 to 650, I'm not buying it. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Because I was really hoping for an iPhone SE2 or iPhone 9 with. Sorry, that's um I was really hoping for an iPhone SE2 at the $400 price range with a A13 chip and a better camera sensor. I was hoping for the iPhone 11 because at $400 that phone would probably kill. It really would. Um, yeah, I guess we'll see what these over the ear AirPods Pros would be, if whatever they would be. I mean, I'm really happy with my AirPods Pro. I use them almost every day. I go to the gym like 5-6 times a week. I carry them with me wherever I go. But $400 for one, I don't know. I have used my AirPods Pro on my Pixel 4 also, and they work pretty well. I'm actually really surprised. Oh, Internet Cafe. God damn it. I don't know why. It's just like, oh, Enforce isn't in the States, so I just think everything's international. I'm sorry. So Internet Cafe, I gotcha. And yeah, it's quite rough. I'm a university student right now. I gotcha, man. I hear you. I hear you. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. $400. Uh, AirPods Pros are really expensive already, but anyway, we'll move on. Will says, but there isn't a wire. I know, man, but not $400. I'm not spending $400. Okay, I have this article here from The Verge. These last two articles are maybe not as techy, not as phone related. I just kind of want to go through them. Uber is going to start putting ads on top of some of its vehicles. Uber inked a deal to place ads on the roof of some of its vehicles, a move that will likely generate some new revenue for the notorious cash-burning company in comparisons to Uber's original adversary, the old school taxi industry. I feel like at this point, this is what Uber is going to be, right? They're pretty much, I mean, they are a taxi. I don't know. It's a modern day taxi. I don't know if you guys have seen, I read an article where they started doing this thing at Uber where I think on the on the center console, like above it, there's just a monitor there that just plays ads. And so as an Uber driver, you make money just having that thing play ads all day. So it's just another way to make money. And I guess that's what this is here too. So Adweek's reporting Uber struck a deal with this company that will introduce ads to some of its vehicles in 3 cities starting April 1st. While Uber drivers could place ad displays on top of their vehicles through third-party companies like Firefly, this makes the first time the ride-hailing company plans to roll out ads of its own. Around 1,000 vehicles will feature rooftop ads during the initial rollout. I mean, I guess this is good for people who are just trying to make a couple extra bucks on the side, right? So I'm not really going to go through this. I just wanted to see how much all of this stuff or how much money they could make. They'll get $300 to install the rooftop displays and an additional $100 each week when they drive more than 20 hours. So yeah, you get an extra $100 if you drive 20 hours and you have this thing on top of your car. Whatever. I mean, if that's what you do for a living, man, I mean, you got to do what gets you by. Now we will get movable billboards. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what it is, man. Here in Chicago, I don't know if you guys have this where you're at, but we have like these smaller trucks that carry like it's kind of like a U-Haul flatbed, and on that flatbed, it's nothing but a moving billboard. That's literally all it is, and it just drives around the city. When I lived in Southern California, over by the beach, there were just planes all day or blimps, right? That would have ads. So it's just marketing wherever you go. Let me see here. And Force says, well, hopefully I'll never see it because Uber isn't popular here in Balkans. It's more cargo. Okay. Yeah, I never knew that. I had no idea. JD, LOL, Google's like the geek kid who don't have street smarts, and Apple is the cool kid who picks on them and uses their stuff. Or they use their stuff and they find a way to implement it better, is maybe the best way. They make nerdy stuff look cool. Yeah, you're right. I can see that. I can totally see that. Okay, guys. So last article I have here is okay, so it's about YouTube. YouTuber got banned from every EA game and online service after he rants. So this guy, Kurt0411, a FIFA pro who is probably more famous for his YouTube presence, has been hit with one of the most severe online punishments I've ever seen, having been banned by EA from playing any of the company's games online or even accessing any of their online services. It's kind of crazy. The ban comes after Fennec's long-running feud with EA. It reached a breaking point with EA issuing the following statement earlier today. If you can't read that on your phone, here's the key part. Since that time, Kurt has continued to post abusive and threatening messages and videos about EA employees. Man, why? Why? I mean, I like to poke fun at people. Fun at companies, really, not people. And competitive players on social media, and he has encouraged others to do the same. Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of maybe, I mean, this might be out of context. I haven't seen it, but yeah, man, when you're threatening people or whatever, like, that's not cool. His messages have crossed the line of decency into very personal attacks and breach our terms of service. We will not tolerate threatening behavior. As a result, his EA account will be banned from playing our games and accessing our services due to these serious and repeated violations. While the ban seems incredibly harsh and there's an argument, it sets a heavy-handed precedent. His conduct has been extreme, and his monologues against FIFA have moved from simply complaining about the game to deeply unhinged tirades and threats against the game's developers. Yeah, here, for example, is a video from last year where I always say that wrong. Anyway, he's swearing. In his spitting on EA Sports scarf. This is the video that Kurt got banned for freedom of speech. How are you going to spit on the logo of a company that you want to be a professional esports athlete for? Yeah, okay, I get it. I get it. For being one of the biggest and most popular game series on the planet, FIFA sure has some issues when it comes to its pros and personalities. Here, for example, is one of the world's best players shitting all over FIFA 20 while in an esports tournament for FIFA 20. I don't know, man. There's a big part of me that says believe in what you believe for, right? So like, if these games are being shitty or they're using microtransactions, right, to like milk money out of people, like that's something I'm all for. Like I will talk shit about a company if I feel like they're doing something wrong for the consumer. I don't know the full reference to that, but that's just how I feel. Anyway, yeah, and Four says EA be wilding out here. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know that whole context. You know, I mean, we could be seeing it one way in this article and completely different in what he's doing. But anyway, that's it, guys. Hopefully you guys had a good time. I did. I'm running out of voice here. I'm just like, God, I've been talking for an hour and 14 minutes straight. So this is time for me to end this show. I don't have an outro like I did on my intro, but I'll work on that. Anyway, I do want to thank everybody for making the stream. Do want to thank people for supporting, being in the chat. This is something that I do every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern. Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's just me. Sundays, it's with Mike from Simply Your Device. Again, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. As I keep doing this, I feel like I'm getting better. I want to, kind of make this a little more tight packaged, maybe do some segments. But that's something I'm working on. So that's it for now, guys. I am going to end this broadcast. Again, thanks so much. If you guys don't know, you can find me also on Instagram and Twitter at Phone Jerome, where I post a lot on Instagram. So feel free to follow me there. Twitter, I'll rant about stuff. I'll bitch about things too. Daniel, Daniel's on my news team. Daniel knows that I start like ranting and raving now about stuff. But yes, companies are people too, because they use their money as their voice, and this is something that I've learned about my news org. So something that I get really tired of. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to end it here, guys. Thanks again so much for spending some time with me. I will see you guys on Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern. So, all right, guys, have a good one. I will talk to you guys soon. Later.